Good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, and thank you for sparing time on your Sunday evening, to join us. And I do hope that it's going to be a memorable and a lovely time discussing this very crucial topic that we have in front of us. And today we will be talking about happy couples, how to avoid and deal with money chaos in marriage. And tonight, I am your host and the speaker for today's webinar. I'm Adesola Ademiloe. I'm the founder and stewardship coach at Equipped Stewards. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And a little bit of housekeeping. If you came in early, you would have seen a disclaimer showing on your screen. This is just to make you aware of the webinar is for education and information purpose mainly. Again, we will provide you with information, facts, and even some biblical principles that we would expect to guide your decision making. And very importantly, the information we provide do not constitute any form of financial advice. If you want financial advice, we want to encourage you to do your own research and, if possible, talk to a financial advisor. And again, thank you so much for joining. Wherever you are, you can feel free to share the link with your friends, family, on your status, on your social media. Again, just to ensure that we all go together, you spread the information as much as possible, such that when times come of challenges, you won't be there saying, "Oh, we had this information some times ago, but I couldn't share it with you." So I want to encourage you to please share with your friends and family. Okay, and again, that's the small print done with. Again, just to get your attention again, wherever you are, maybe on YouTube, on Instagram, just let us know based on the question on the screen. Just type one if you're a single person joining us. If you're a couple, but yet again, your spouse is not able to join uh, this webinar today, just put it there too. And if you and your spouse or your partner are together, joining this webinar, just post three there. And I think the essence of this is to just get a feel of who is on the call, and then that helps me actually to be able to give examples that are relevant to you. So if you're single joining this call today or this webinar, just put a one. If you're uh, married or a couple, but your partner is not with you, maybe because they are working, just put a two. And if you are with your partner joining together, again, put a three there. And the essence of this is to make sure that the examples we give are relevant to many people on the call. Imagine we have more married people whose partner are with them, and I'm giving an example about being single. Again, you might think that's a disconnect, and yes, that's why if you are able to put the information there, it really helps to make sure that we are giving relevant examples. Okay, thank you very much. Very interestingly, we have quite a lot of people who are married. We haven't seen more people who are single, but please do well to share with them because they will also benefit rather than making mistake and wondering, oh, what could you have done differently? Information that we share today will be very helpful in helping single people avoid mistakes when it comes to marriage. All right. Thank you very much again. Just to remind you, do share the link with your friends and family. Okay. So this is another iteration of our webinar. We've had several series, and most of these series are available on YouTube. So I want to encourage you, if you missed any, please go on YouTube and have a watch. And again, if there's any way we can help you, please again reach out, and we will be more than happy to help and to share. Okay. All right. So again, another activity for you. Can you tell us in the chat, wherever you are, what is one thing you wish you had known about money before entering into your first serious relationship? Now, I believe for many people who are married here, the first serious relationship will be your marriage partner that you have with now. So please just let us know, what is that one thing that you wish you had known before you got married to your partner? You can do that in the chat. Just put that there as a field for tonight. Just share it. What do you think you would have known? Uh, one big or one key thing in terms of your money that you would have learned, love to know before entering your first serious relationship. For some people, it's about budgeting. For some people, it's about mindset. For some people, it's about debt. For some people, it's about credit. Whatever it is that you wish you would have, which you have known about before entering your first relationship. Again, I want to encourage you to just drop that in the chat. Again, is for us to be able to facilitate and this session in a way that you will find more meaningful to you. Okay, so as you begin to think about that and you make up your mind on what to put in the chat, I want to proceed again with the discussion, and then we can come back there to look at some of the points that have been raised. Again, I want to encourage you. I know it's evening time. I know we are busy doing one or two things, but it will be very important if you can engage with tonight's conversation. All right. So again, today we are looking at happy couples, how to avoid and deal with money chaos in marriage. Okay, so, in marriage, for many of us that have been married for some time, there are several possible causes of disagreement in marriage. For some people, it is infidelity. For some people, money. For some people, faith. Sometimes you might wonder, faith how? For some people, oh, this is the kind of religion we want to practice. This is the type of denomination we want to be a part of. People have that kind of possible disagreement in marriage. For some people, it's about sex. Some people, it's about work-life balance. Some people, it's about children. Very interestingly, maybe how many children you want to have and how you want to raise those children. So those are some of the possible reasons why there could be disagreement in marriage. But out of all this, I believe money and research have shown us that money or financial matters often becomes the most persistent. That is, if you have disagreement over ambition, many a times you just discuss it as a couple, you sleep over it, and then you decide this is okay, let's move forward. But when it comes to the matter of money, it's usually a kind of disagreement that is more persistent over time. And for many people, when there is disagreement over money or money matters, it's one of the leading causes of stress in the marriage. And sometimes it even leads to breaking down of that relationship. So for many people, the relationship has broken down all because of money related matter. And statistics actually support this. Data shows us that 41% of couples, admitting to having serious financial disagreement, disagreement over money. If you have 100 people respond to a survey, 41% means at least 41 of those people says that they have had serious financial disagreement with their spouse. And if you go, another data shows us that for 25% of couples, they have reported to having financial issues, which is one of the main strain in their relationship. Okay, so you can see the importance of this, whether you are a Christian or you are not, whether you got married in the church, in the court, wherever it is. Many couples always find themselves disagreeing or even arguing over a kind of money matter or the other. And I believe this is why sessions like this are very important, just to help you understand what these issues are and how to deal with them. Okay, just a very quick reminder again, please do well to share this link with your friends and family, and wherever you are, whether on YouTube, whether on WhatsApp. I want to encourage you to do that. Okay, so the essence or the focus of today's webinar is to identify the key reasons for financial disagreement in marriage, and also to share some biblical wisdom on how to avoid and to deal with this type of issues. Okay, so today we will group this disagreement or this reasons for financial or money disagreement in marriage into three main categories. The first one is differences in your financial perspective. The second one, the second main category why people have or couples have disagreement in their marriage over finances is communication issues. And then the third one is about debt and financial imbalance. Debt or financial imbalance. So three main reasons why couples might have the financial disagreement in their marriage. One, differences in financial perspective. Second is communication issue. Third is debt and financial imbalance. So we will look at them one after the other just to ensure that we understand what we are talking about. And once we understand the reasons for the disagreement, then how to avoid them or how to deal with them becomes much more easy to relate with. Okay, so the first one is looking at differences in financial perspective. Again, for this, we can group it into three different examples. And the first one I will want to talk about very quickly is personality differences. Okay, now there is this saying that opposite attracts, just like a magnet, opposite attracts in magnetic field. So the North Pole attracts the South Pole. And the same thing is mostly true in marriage. That is, the opposite often attracts in marriage. And you think about it, the quiet man will be attracted to the outspoken woman. And you might find out that even this comes into play in finances. Usually in marriage, it is possible that one is a spender, the other one uh, is a saver. And because there is this difference in their different makeup, that leads most times to financial disagreement in marriage. And the truth about this is when you are courting, the opposite futures or characteristics of that individual might be what actually drew you to them. Oh, I like the way when I'm talking, it's just so quiet. But when you now get into marriage, you are talking, you expect a response. But this person is just quiet. It's just looking at you. And you begin to wonder, but why are you looking at me? But if you cast your mind back 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 months ago, those were the features that you think you really like about this person. So the truth is, opposite tends to attract, and personality differences often leads to financial disagreement in marriage. And this can tie into your upbringing as well. Many people, we get into a relationship, we don't really ask our partner about their financial upbringing. For some people in their family, their parents talk about money open open-minded. But for some people, their parents don't even talk about money. So imagine someone whose parents talk about money very openly and then marrying somebody whose parents don't talk about money. And if the person whose parents talks about money is about to bring up money matter, the other person is not contributing, is not engaging because they are not used to it. So your upbringing can have a lot of impact on how you approach or the possibility of having financial or money disagreement in your marriage. Now, the other point here is about needs versus wants. When you talk about differences, what one person consider as a need, the other person might actually consider it as a want. And because again, this can even tie in into your upbringing. For example, for some people, traveling overseas for vacation is part of life, but for some person, it is a luxury. Now, if these two people come together in marriage, then one person wants to go on holiday every year or every quarter or twice a year. But the other person is thinking, why should we go on holiday when we have other things that we could do with money? And because of that differences, there can be disagreement. And in some cases, this type of disagreement are not addressed. So it is very important to understand that your wants or your needs, as different as it can be between the two parties, can actually lead to a kind of disagreement in your marriage, and that disagreement is mainly about money. Should we spend it or should we save it? Should we spend it on this or should we spend it on the other thing? And that ties into the next point, which is about spending priorities. And again, couples can have difference in view, difference in opinion about what to spend their money on. It is natural. In some cases, couples might say, okay, let's pay down our debt so that we don't, you're not owing X, Y, and Z person. But the other person might say, well, why pay off the debt when we could even buy a very fancy and lovely car for our family. So again, those two things are good, but then you might think about it. These two people are they are meant to be going in the same direction, but there is a disagreement as to what should the money that they have should be spent upon. For some person, it might be let's save an emergency fund. The other person might say, well, why save an emergency fund? There is always a better day tomorrow. And then they want to spend that money on spa treatment or even buying new clothing, on shopping, or even traveling. Then it is possible that there is also an disagreement as to should we spend this money on our nuclear family or our extended family? Now, if you're from a family where you are very an extended family in the sense that you have siblings depending on you, you have parents depending on you, and then your partner might not even be in that position because their family is well to do. Now, if you say, can we spend so and so amount of money for my younger brother or younger sister, and the other partner says, why spend that money on them when our children need X, Y, and Z thing? So that kind of difference can actually lead to a very strong financial disagreement in marriage. Okay. Now, the next one is communication issues. Communication issue. And the first one to discuss is where there is absolutely lack of communication. That is, here, couples might be struggling, to talk to each other about money. They can talk about every other thing. But when it comes to money, there is problem. They can't converse with themselves about money openly without this leading to misunderstanding or even sometimes unresolved issues. Now, it is possible, don't get me wrong, that you can have as a couple, you don't always agree, but again, you can disagree to agree. But in some cases, people don't just talk about it because they don't want misunderstanding. They don't talk about it because they know that it will not finish. The conversation will keep going and going and going. So, because they have chosen not to speak up about it, it leads to a kind of animosity, it leads to a kind of resentment, and that resentment can actually lead to the breakage or failure of that marriage. And the other point is one sided spending. Now, this looks very interesting because if you think about it, it is possible that one partner who makes maybe most of the money might decide to spend most of the money on themselves. The other partner who doesn't make most money might just might be very cautious of, oh, can we spend this money? Should we spend this money? And so on. And so it is possible that one party in the relationship is spending more money than the other party, purchasing clothes, purchasing, things. And you might even say you are buying it for the other party, but the other party is not on board. So it means that one person is spending more money on one thing, however, the other person is not happy about it. And because they are not happy about it, they just want peace to reign, so they don't want to hurt your ego. They are not talking to you about it. And if this continues over time, it can lead to serious chaos in the marriage. And the other point, I've mentioned it briefly, is about financial obligation to extended family. In some cases, one part of the couple is spending more money, to take care of their extended relative without telling the other party that, oh, I want to can I send this amount of money to this person because they need this amount of money for something. But because they've spent the money, the other party might not have any strong opinion about it. They might not disagree about it, but because the party that spent the money did not talk to them about it, they see it as a form of disrespect, and that disrespect can lead to resentment in that relationship. So it is very important that there is communication in the marital relationship, and the lack of communication can actually lead to the breakage of that relationship. It can lead to a lot of chaos in the relationship. Okay. Now, just to remind you, if you are here and you haven't shared this link, please do so. Let's help one another. Let's support one another. Let's share the word such that families and lives can be blessed by this. Now, the third category is what we call debt and financial imbalance. debt and financial imbalance. Now, for many of us, maybe if you're coming from an African background, for example, perhaps you stood in Nigeria. No, for some people, you don't have tuition fee debt, but you don't have debt in that sense. So when you are coming into the relationship, many people are coming debt free into the relationship. But this is not always true for a lot of people. So some people they have tuition fee debt, some people they have credit card debt, they have this debt or the other debt, and because they have debt before coming into the relationship, some people declare it and say, okay, look, this is how much I am owing on my student finance. This is how much credit card I'm owing. This is my car loan. They talk to their partner, their suitor. They talk to them openly, or their fiance and fiance openly. And because they have spoken about it, they can then disagree. How do we want to approach this? You are coming to this marriage with a debt of 50,000 pounds. I'm coming to this marriage with a debt of 10,000 pounds. Now, how do we want to manage this? But in some cases, some people do not tell their partner about it before getting into marriage. And once they are married, they start getting letters saying you haven't paid this debt, and the other partner is wondering, but you didn't tell me about this. And because of that, the tension begin to brew in the home because they felt like they haven't been told about this debt. And even sometimes when they have been told about the debt, they might think, oh, well, we will pay it off in 1 year. But 1 year is gone because maybe there are other priorities. That debt is not being paid. It now adds pressure to the marriage itself. So these are some of the possible reasons for this disagreement in financial disagreement in marriage. The second one is financial imbalance. And here, what we are talking about really is the fact that one party can be earning much more than the other. So there is a disparity in income. And I've seen this a lot plays out even within the Christian community. Now, the husband is earning more money than the wife. And because of that, he takes care of most of the responsibility. And sometimes when the wife needs money, he says things that makes the wife feels less of a human being. And the same thing can even happen on the reverse. The wife is earning more than the husband, and because of that, the wife can say certain things, use certain words, or use certain tones that makes the husband feel less of a human. And when this happens within a marital relationship, this causes tension, and this causes the fact that people feel disrespected. And when, for example, the husband is disrespected, it makes it very difficult to engage in communication with the spouse. Then the other one is separating earnings. Again, here it can be that an example of this is the husband and the wife they split the bill. For example, the rent is £700. Now they agree to split the bill 50-50. So one pays 375, the other one pays 375, and that's how they go ahead. But in that case, if that is how you want to run the family and it's working for you, all well and good. But in some cases, some people choose to split the bill 50-50, but their income is not the same. One is earning 50,000, the other one is earning 20,000. Then you are splitting the bill at 50-50. It means that there will be trouble because one feels like they are spending more of their income on bills, but the other person is not really doing much to help. So this can actually lead to a lot of disagreements in marriage. And the last point that we emphasize is financial stress. Sometimes this financial stress comes from the fact that people are living from paycheck to paycheck. That is, oh, you're paid this month, and before the end of next month, the money is finished. And because the money is finished, you still have more bills to pay, and you are thinking about it. You're already very stressed out, and so any disagreement, any request for money, you just flare up. This is part of the reason why we have disagreement in marriage, when it comes to money matters, financial stress, and this can lead to a lot of arguments. Okay. Now I've mentioned about 11 points now, and I've just summarized this on the screen. So in the next 1 or 2 minutes, while we um, copy the link, share it with your family and friends, I want you to, in the chat, which of these reasons do you think is the most common. So we have looked at 11 reasons. From what you know about people having or families having financial disagreement, which of these do you think is the most common? Okay, so you can do that in the chat, maybe on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever you're joining us from. Which of these reasons do you think is the most common? And once you do that, please do well to share the link with your family and friends as well. So I'll just give us 30 seconds or so to comment in the chat. Which of these reasons do you think is the most common for reasons for financial disagreement in marriage? Okay. Thank you very much. We got one response saying communication issues. And all out of the communication issues, we have actually mentioned three different points. So if you could maybe go a step further and tell us which of these points do you think is most is the likely reason, or if you think there is more that we have not covered, can you just also point that in the chat? Thank you. Okay, we have one, two ones, and 1, 2. Okay, I know we have more people, so we'll be very grateful for you to engage. And by engaging, it helps us to, you know, to be able to focus more on those points that have been identified here. Okay, we have another one, spending priorities. That's still one. Okay, so we have one-sided spending. Okay, thank you very much for going a step further with that. Okay. All right, thanks, thank you. That's very good. So we can see quite a lot of people talking about 1 and 2. Okay, personality differences. Thank you very much. And again, very interesting to be honest. However, for many people, I think there are a lot of issues with point number 3 as well, where people have financial imbalance. One is earning more than the other, and because of that, there is a disagreement in the family. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Spending priorities and personality differences. And again, this is sometimes about our mindset. This is sometimes about our upbringing, where we are coming from. What are you bringing into the marriage? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all for commenting and contributing on the chat. It makes it much more interactive, and again, it shows that you are here with us. So if you have not commented at all, please do so. It's very, very helpful. Okay. All right. So all right, thank you very much. I think we have a very interesting point here, saying that, for instance, husband may be from humble background and the wife is from a different background. And again, this is what we're saying, that indeed it is possible that two people from different backgrounds come together. Their spending priorities is completely different. What one person considers luxury is a normal thing to another person. And if this issues are not dealt with in courtship stage, it can actually go a long way to impact the marriage or the marriage itself. Okay, thank you all for again sharing your thoughts on that. It's really, really encouraging. Okay, so now we are going to look at how to avoid and deal with these issues. Now we've talked about a couple of issues, about 11. So we have given about 11 possible reasons. Now, let's start looking at how to deal with them. Now, we will not be looking at them one by one to say, okay, personality difference, this is how you will address it. Needs versus want, this is how you will address it. But I've come up with 5 different principles that you can apply. So you can have the 5 different principles in the back of your mind, so that when an issue comes your way, you can then begin to attack them or tackle them with one of those principles per time. And over time, you begin to realize what best principle works best for you as a family. Okay, thank you again for another example there, where again a personal example is being shared in the sense that, one is a spender, the other one is a saver. Okay, so adjustment needs to be done again, and that is beautiful. I'm just going to flag that up here. There is a need for adjustment. Without adjustment, then there will be problem. There must be compromise. Again, we're already talking about how to deal with them. But again, thank you so much for sharing that example. So let's look at the first way to avoid and to deal with this issue. And the first one is the power of agreement. So I'm going to be talking about five powers. So the first power that we'll be talking about is the power of agreement. And here it means there must be an alignment in your financial goals. There must be an alignment in your financial goal. You know, the Bible says that in Amos chapter 3, verse 3, can two work together unless they are agreed? It means that there must be an agreement on where you are going to. Now think about it. Now I'm not saying couples are goats or they are animals, but again, think about the fact that you put two animals together and you want them to pull separately. If they are pulling apart separately in different direction, they are not going anywhere. Okay, they are not going anywhere. So you are pulling, one is pulling to the right, the other one is pulling to the left. And if you do that, it means that they are stationary. You know, they are not going anywhere. And that is the reality for many of us. We are just pulling in different directions. The husband is pulling to the right, the wife is pulling to the left. And because there is no coherence in what they are trying to do, there's no alignment, they are not making progress. So the first thing that we must do, very importantly, is understand the power of agreement. Both of you must agree and align your financial goals. Now, before you come into that marriage relationship, you have different goals. One wants to do X, Y, and Z, the other want to do A, B, C. But once you agree to be married, you must come to the table and say, what do we want to do? Very importantly, it's no longer you, I, we as a family, what do we want to do? Okay. And that is a very crucial one. And that's a crucial way to obtain a financial harmony in a marriage. There must be a discussion around what your short-term goals are and what your long-term goals are. Short-term goal, maybe first year of marriage, what do we want to do? Okay, you are living in this place, I'm living here. Okay, we need to rent an apartment. That's the first thing. Okay, how do you want to do it? We need to raise the bond together. These are things that you need to discuss. That's the short term. Then the long term can then become, okay, we need to save certain amount of money. We need to buy a family car. We need to buy a family house. We need to reduce our debt. We need to invest in our future. We need to invest in the future of our children. Those are very important long-term goals that you need to disagree on. And when both of you agree on these financial priorities, then it sets the strong foundation for avoiding conflict and ensuring a shared vision. If you both agree that we want to pay down this debt, maybe you have a 25,000 pounds debt, and you both agree that we want to pay it down from 25,000 debt, whether it's in one person's name or it's in joint name, as long as you are together, the priority should be we want to pay down our debt. And why do you pay down your debt? Because the lender is, or the borrower is a slave to the lender. And the reality of it, if you look at our banking system, most times you put your money in the bank, you only get interest rate of maybe 5% now. But if you're going to take a loan now, you might be looking at as high as 12%, 10% if you have a very good credit rating. But if you don't have a good credit rating, you can be getting loan of like 30%, which is backbreaking. And for some people, they even get payday loan of 1,000%. You know, if you think about it, how can people cope? How can people break out of that shell? But if you agree as a couple, as a family, this is what we want to do. And on the basis of that, you go for it and you work together, you can make more progress quickly. So, what is the action? If you are here on this call and it happens that you have a level of agreement, but there is no strong agreement. So the first thing you need to do, yourself and your spouse, is to write down what are your financial goals. What are your financial goals? Okay, you write them down for the first year. You write them down for the second year, short time, long term, medium term goals. Write them down, and then on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, come together to discuss how well are we doing. You must assess yourself to see where you are, how well you are doing, and on the basis of that, you can then say, okay, what more do we need to do? For some people, they have to cut back on spending. For some people, they have to increase their savings rate, and on the basis of that, they are able to achieve those goals. So if you want, you can write those visions on your wall in your bedroom, such that whenever you are dressing, or maybe on your mirror, whenever you are dressing up, you are seeing you are seeing the vision or the goals on a sticky board or sticky paper on the mirror, and you are seeing it and you're thinking about it. Okay, what can I do to make us or help us achieve this goal faster? Okay. Now, for if you are single and you're on this call, I think you can also write your own goals. You need to know where you are going before you get someone to join you on that journey. So you need to write your own personal financial goals and work towards it before you get that person that you want to marry, or even before that person comes your way. And when that person comes your way, you want to discuss this. You have something that you are bringing to the table. These are my plan. What are your plan? How can we work together to make this a family plan? Very important. Okay. Now, I've spoken a lot so far. Again, if you are here, I want to encourage you to please share this uh, link with your family, your friends, so that they can also learn. And if you have any question as I'm speaking, please put them on the chat so that we can address them as time goes on. And I'm going to adjust the pace of my talking, the examples I give based on the type of question, if we have questions in the chat as well. Okay. Now, the next point we will consider is the power of knowledge and planning. The power of knowledge and planning. That is, for you as an individual or as a family, you must put systems in place to achieve your goals. You must put system in place to help you achieve your goal. Again, the Bible is very clear. If you look at Proverbs 24, verse 3 to 4, it says, by wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures. So, for those of us on this call, I want to believe that you are on the right track. You are on the right track. So, again, that's an affirmation from me to you, because, again, for you to be here, it means that you want to gain more knowledge. So, it shows that you are on the right track. And when it comes to knowledge, it shouldn't be one sided. As you gain the knowledge, find an avenue to share this with your spouse. Talk about it, joke about it, and also, share it. And when you are conversing about it, it begins to, your knowledge about this is being reinforced. The motivation to do things becomes more and more reinforced. Okay. So now, as a family or as a couple, you now need to begin to talk about, okay, what do we know about budgeting? What do we know about savings? What do we know about investing? How can we ensure that we track our investment? How can we ensure that we track our goals? How can we ensure that we track our budget at the end of the month? This is very important as a family. Okay. Now, wherever you are, whether you're already doing this or you just want to start, or you know it but you're not doing it, this is a very good opportunity to go back to the drawing board and begin to do these things. And again, if you want to, in terms of building systems, for example, you want to save certain amount of money, what can you do? You can begin to, budget for it. Within your budget, there is something called pay yourself first. But for me, or for us, and I keep steward as a steward, we have I changed that to pay yourself next, because the first and foremost is your giving. Again, very importantly, whatever you do, you must understand that you are a steward, and you are, whatever you have, God has given to you. So you must be open minded and be generous, in the sense that you must give to support the work of God. You must give to support other people. And after that, after giving to support the work of God, you can then begin to pay yourself next. That is, put some money aside for saving, put some money aside for your retirement in your pension, and also make sure that these things are automated. And what does that mean? It means that you must set up standing order or even standing order mostly to pay yourself next. Put that money in the savings account. Even if you want to start with £5, just put that £5 on standing order on the set day of the month. Let that money go into your savings account, and then most of us we will pay debt by using direct debit. So if you are paying debt by or your bills by direct debit, why not pay yourself using standing order, which is in your control? So if you are paying your debt or your bills, automate it as well and let it go out maybe on the first or second day of the month, depending on when you are paid, so that all your debt is all your bills are paid, all your savings are taken care of, and whatever is left, you can then begin to think about what all else you want to do with it. You want to increase your savings? Do you want to treat your family? Do you want to just go out for a date? Do you want to eat out once a while? Just to break the monotony of just saving, 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 and investing and all those things. You need to also be able to use what you have worked hard for. So there is a balance to be struck here. So again, it is very important that you create that joint budget even for your family, and everybody, both of you must be on your toe. You must be together on it. Maybe you have achieved some goals and you think, oh, we are doing very well. Of course, you are doing very well. Thank God for that. But you can always do better. There is always room for improvement. And if you are single, you can also make sure that you set up your own financial plans and system. Okay. Now, if you have any question, please do well to post that in the chat and we will make sure to answer them. Again, I want to encourage you to share the link with your friends, share the link with your family. And if you are here, you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, or you are not following us on Facebook or even on Instagram, I want to encourage you to do so and to get more resources from us as we grow, so that we can all grow together. Now, the third one is the power of sacrifice. The power of sacrifice. And I think this is very important. You, the couple, must be willing and ready to sacrifice for each other. Many a times there are disagreements, there are issues, there are chaos in the family over money because one party is not willing to sacrifice for the other, or both of them are not even willing to sacrifice for one another. But it's very important to note that sacrifice, when it comes to marriage or money, must be mutual. One person cannot be sacrificing and the other person just feels like, I don't care. In that case, there is no agreement. So once you take the box for agreement, you tick the box for knowledge, you now come to the point of sacrifice. Sacrifice must be mutual. It must be hand in hand. Both parties must be on board. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3 to 4, the Bible says that do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the other. And this is very applicable in marriage. When you want to make a decision, whether in terms of spending, for example, you want to buy that thing, think about it. How will my partner, how will my spouse feel if you know that I spend this money? If you think they will be happy, okay, now go ahead and spend the money. But if you think that they will be very sad that you have spent that money, then you need to be very careful about that. Of course, there is a balance here. So you must always think about it. Think about your partner, think about your spouse. How will they feel if you spend the money that they are working so hard to save? I've seen instances of couple, someone just go into the bank account, just withdrew the money in their savings and just spent it on something that was not agreed upon. And in that instance, the other partner who might just feel like, but why should you do that? We are saving this money for something. So in that case, one is sacrificing, the other one doesn't want to sacrifice, or it's not a mutual agreement, then there will be problem. So it is very important that whatever we do, there must be that mutual willingness to sacrifice. And successful relationship, take it to anywhere in the world, often require sacrifice. One person can give up, career advancement for the sake of the family. Another person can give up luxury for the sake of the family. Imagine someone from two people from different background. One, one of them, it is normal every year their family they go on vacation. Then they marry somebody who never went on vacation. All they do is work, 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 work. And then the person that has been going on vacation every year, all of a sudden is into a relationship, and they couldn't agree to go on vacation because the other person is still adjusting to that lifestyle. There will be a sacrifice. And the other person that is working, you must also be willing to sacrifice, not go to that work so that you can go on holiday. Otherwise, you continue to do your own thing, they do their own thing, and that can lead to a lot of friction in the marriage. So there must be that willingness to compromise as well when it comes to your marital relationship. Look, there is no relationship, there is no marriage that is thriving, that is happy. There are no happy couples that are not compromising in one way or the other. And that is why it is very important that no two marriages are the same. Now, you can learn from other people, you can see what people are doing that are good examples, but you cannot say because it works for Mr. A, it has to work for us. You cannot say because they did their own this way, we have to do our own the same way. No, no two marriages are the same. And on the basis of that, you must make sure that you look inward and decide what the best sacrifice is for your own family. Okay, so when it comes to sacrifice, what can you do? You must identify one area of spending where each of you, hopefully you are both on this call. If not, you can watch the video on YouTube, where both of you can agree to cut back on. If one person is spending a lot of money on an item, cut it back. Agree to cut it back. It doesn't mean you should stop. At least for a start, reduce the amount. If you spend £50, reduce it to £40. Then the other party, you can also reduce it. Anything can be cut back on. Okay, very important to know that. You can't say no, it's not possible. Why is it not possible? You can always cut back. Okay, then you can also decide to delay a major purchase in order to stay within your budget. Okay, there are certain times that you just have to cut back on certain things. Maybe you want to do X, Y, and Z thing, but you have exceeded your budget for that month. You can decide to cut it back. An example is looking after extended family. If you set in your budget that you're going to spend £200 looking after extended family this month, and then by that month you've exhausted it, and there is a need. Now, if that need is most very important to be met, you can decide to cut back on other things, but there must be a mutual agreement by both couples to cut back in order to achieve that goal, or to spend that money on whatever the need might be. Okay, so that's the third point. So we have 5 points or 5 powers to consider. The next power to consider is the power of allowance. Power of allowance. And here, what are we talking about? We are talking about making room for mistakes and forgiveness. Like I said, no marriage is perfect. No two marriages are the same. And on the basis of that, you must make room for mistakes and forgiveness. Okay? It is natural. Your partner will do something that or your spouse will do something that you feel, but why? But even within, when you even exclaim and you express your dissatisfaction, you must be willing to make room, make allowance for them, make allowance for people's mistakes. Colossians chapter 3, verse 13, the Bible says, bear with each other and forgive one another if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. There are many of us here that we have said, I'm sorry to people, and they are forgiving us. But when it comes to partners, spouses, many a times people say, the partner says, I'm sorry, but we just keep holding on to it. You must understand that making mistakes is part of the natural cycle of life. And when someone makes mistake and they apologize for it, you must have a system to forgive and to forget. You don't say, okay, you made a mistake, maybe something then happened a year later, and you say, do you remember 5 years ago you did X, Y, and Z thing? You don't make reference to the past in that way just to make the other person feel bad, but make the other person feel worse. Again, we are all humans, but you must always be mindful of your words, your choice of words, your action as well. And if you are mindful of this, making allowance for one another, forgiving one another, then the family will live in harmony, will live in peace. There will be no chaos, there will be no disagreement over money that cannot be resolved, because you have already made room for for mistake. You have already made room to forgive one another. Okay, so here, what can you do when a financial mistake happens? It is very important that you address it with grace and understanding. Many a times we just think, oh, you did that again. You always do that. You always do that. Again, always be very mindful. Let your words be seasoned with grace, such that the other person doesn't feel less of a human being when that happens. And you must also adopt a no blame policy. When it comes to financial discussion, that is, when you are discussing a matter, this goes to communication. When you are discussing a matter, no blame, no blame. Don't focus on the person. Don't attack the personality of the person. You always do that. Are you stupid? Are you an idiot? Don't focus on attacking the person. Focus on the issue. This is the issue on ground. This is how this issue will impact our goal that we have agreed upon in this year. What do we do to resolve this? For example, you are saving for a very good example. Let's say you are saving for a house deposit, and then all of a sudden your partner just woke up one morning and then withdrew the money from the bank account and then use that to buy a nice looking car. Now, that's a very big mistake, because again, you might say, well, why should you do that? Even without discussing with me, without us agreeing it, we agreed to do this. Why did you go and do something else? And if that partner comes back and say, oh, I'm sorry, I made this mistake, I'm sorry, it won't happen again, then you must be willing to forgive and forget about it. Of course, sometimes your mistake will set you back by 2 years, set you back by 3 years, but again, it is part of the cycle of life. Mistakes happen. We must be willing to forgive and not to attack the person, but focus on the issue at hand. Okay. And when it comes to, when one of you is expressing their dissatisfaction about something, please be an active listener. Many a times someone is telling you they are not happy about something, and you are just looking at them. You're just you are just doing something else. Maybe looking at your phone. I know we do it a lot. But then, could you, when they are expressing their dissatisfaction, look into their face? Look into their face and let them see that you're actually listening to them. Sometimes it's tough, but then this is part of the things we need to be able to do as humans for our marriage to work. We must be active listeners. Don't say you are listening and you are pressing the phone. Okay, it's very important that we pay attention to these things. All right. So the other thing, there are several tips on better communication. For examples, in marriage, you can take your turn to speak. Don't speak over each other. Again, sometimes emotion flares up. You feel very angry and you want to talk. You want to express your view. You want to say your mind. You want to give them your own peace. But make sure that you are not speaking out of turn. You are giving each other that respect mutually. And like I said before, you must be ready to make compromise. So when you are going to discuss a matter, maybe something has not been working in your family, you must be ready. Okay, what will I give up? What is the compromise I'm willing to make in order for this marriage to work, in order for our home to be at peace? And when you make that compromise, it's also good to draw out a plan, write it down, make a note. Okay, this is what I'm going to say, and this is what I'm thinking we should do. And again, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that your plan will be adopted 100%, but then there is that compromise there. And very importantly, it is not compulsory that you finish the conversation at a sitting. If you are there and you are discussing it and it's not going the way you want it, you can always say, okay, can we pick this up later? And if you say, can we pick up this up later? It's okay. If you think you have to finish it, you won't sleep. And then you go to work the other day, you feel angry, you feel exhausted. That's not how to live. You can always pick it up later, pick it up next time, and make sure that you are always in that mood to compromise for things to work. Again, if you have any question, please do well to put them in the chat and we will do our best to answer. Okay. Now, the last point in our power series is the power of prayer. And here it's about trust and confidence in God through prayer. James chapter 1, verse 5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given unto you. There are a lot of wisdom that are needed in a marital relationship, especially when it comes to handling money and using money. So it is very important that you go back to God. Sometimes you feel very angry uncontrollably. You can always go back to God and say, just oh, please help me. Holy Spirit, help me. I need self-control. If you engage in impulsive buying, maybe you just you just go, you just see something and you just buy it, even though you don't need it. You need the Holy Spirit to help you to be more self-control in that regard. So you can talk to God, ask God for that help. And again, when you as a family, pray together, pray to God together on that matter, it becomes very helpful. Come together in the place of prayer and say, okay, this is what we need to, this is the goals, these are the goals we want to achieve for 2024, 2025. Commit it to God in the place of prayer. We need help. We can't do it by ourselves. You need help, talk to God about it. Set time aside, regularly to pray about it. Bring it to the remembrance of God. And there are testimonies of people saying, no, we just mention it in the presence of God, and we have our answer. So you can always ask for wisdom, guidance, and unity in your decision making. This is very, very important. So prayer does work. All we just need to do is to make sure that when we are going into the place of prayer, we are also happy for prayer to change us. We are also happy for the Holy Spirit to minister to us to do things in a different way. The fact that your parent did things in a particular order doesn't mean you have to follow the same thing. Sometimes the Holy Spirit tells you you don't have to do it that way, do it in a different way. And if you are willing to listen, even in the place of prayer, you will get than a lot more in return. Okay. So again, we are closing. But before that, I just want to quickly summarize some of the key points or takeaways in our uh, power series. First of all, power of agreement. There must be financial harmony, and this requires an agreement. There must be that agreement between the spouses. If you agree together, this is what we're going to do, this is our financial goal, this is our plan, and if you agree to that, then communication becomes easier because you know what you want to do, you know when you want to do it, you know how you want to do it. And again, another part of this is transparency. Don't buy something and hide it under the bed thinking the other party will not see it. Again, transparency is very important. And when you spend money, be upfront about it. This is what I've spent money on. This is what we look at. This is the reason why I did it. And it becomes very easy. Because again, if trust is broken in the marriage, then it becomes very difficult for the other party to even trust you again. So it is very important for you to have that trust such that you are transparent when it comes to spending money. Then the other one is power of knowledge and planning. Again, we must acquire knowledge, learn, apply the knowledge that you learn, become better, and also find a way to share this knowledge with other people. So if you don't know anything about budgeting, there are opportunities for you to learn about budgeting. If you don't know anything about financial planning, goal setting, there are opportunities for you to learn about this. And if you are willing to learn, acquire the knowledge, then it becomes much easier for you to know the right thing to do to avoid certain costly mistakes. Then the other one is the power of sacrifice. Again, both of you must be willing to make financial sacrifices for the sake of your marriage. If one party is making the sacrifice and the other party is not making any form of sacrifice, then problem is bound to happen in that relationship. So it is very important that you make that plan, make that decision to sacrifice for one another. And even as you make sacrifice, it is important for you to make allowance for one another. Make allowance for one another. Mistakes happen. Be willing to forgive without blaming one another. And also, don't refer back to mistakes from years ago, from 10 years ago, 5 years ago. We've seen couples that are 40 years into marriage and they keep blaming themselves for what they did in 1985, even when their children are not yet born. Again, that's not the way to live life. We must make sure that whenever we are saying we are forgiving, we are actually forgiving in earnest, in reality. Again, ignorance is bliss. If you don't remember, it even makes you a much more lively person to live with. There are people that they are doing well, they are joyous. They just remember something from 10 years ago and they just become moody, they just become very sad. Why? So it is very important for you to make room for that allowance, be ready to forgive and be ready to forget. Okay. So the last one is the power of prayer. You must be willing to pray together, talk to God about your finances, help pray to Him to help you to be to have self control, to be disciplined, to forgive when there is an issue, when mistakes happen, and for you to be able to work together in unity, in agreement. And it's very important for you to commit your ways into the hands of God. Okay. So let's talk about some actionable insights. Now, I've made some summary, but I want us to be able to look at what you need to do. To start with, you need to set out a monthly or quarterly meeting to review your financial status as a couple. So, irrespective of where you are, make up your mind that on a regular basis, we want to do this. You might not have been doing it, you might be doing it casually, but it's very important to set it in stone that this is when we do this. In fact, for some people, you might even decide to go on a date night that day. Just go out, treat yourself, and discuss how well you are doing. And then from there, make up your mind on what next to do. Okay. Next is that you must build an emergency fund. One of the reasons why the family can experience stress when unexpected expenses arise is because they have no backup. They have no way of meeting that need. But if you build a pot of money, maybe £1,000, maybe 2 months of expenses, 3 months of expenses saved somewhere, when such an emergency occur, you are not thinking, oh, how do I do this? Where do I get the money for? And that makes you very anxious. And if you're anxious, you can begin to react in annoyance and things like that. But if you have that plan that things happen, things break. If you drive a car, your car can break down, your car can need new tires, your car can need some new battery, whatever. You need to have that plan that if it happens, this is the pot of money that you can use for that. And once you have that set aside, you must make sure that you write down your goals as a family and review it at regular intervals. So what this is 2024, almost going to an end. What did you set your mind at the beginning of this year to achieve as a family? How well is that going for you? If that is not going very well, so what can you do about it? What can you do as a family to achieve that goal? So it is very important for you to set that plan apart, for you to be able to review it and know how well you are going. Because if it's not written down, if it's not I decided, then you can keep on living life. 10 years is gone, you have not achieved anything. Then the next point, which is also very crucial, is that you must pre-decide that you will be kind to your spouse irrespective of the situation. If you decide that you will be kind, you will show kindness, whatever they have done wrong, whatever you think that is the mistake, because you have made up your mind that you will be kind in what you say, then you will then be careful not to say things that will hurt them. Some people are willing to change, but if you say words that hurt them, that hurt their ego, that make them feel disrespected, they will just want to continue in that wrong path. But if your words are filled with kindness and grace, then you can actually turn that person into the right way. Okay. Then the next thing is that you must be appreciative of one another. Sometimes some people say, oh, I'm the one earning the most of the money. My wife is not earning anything. So because of that, you decide how to spend all the money without even considering their contribution. In a system like the UK, even if your wife is staying at home with the kids, that is a lot of contribution, because if you have to put those children in nursery, it's going to cost you more than your income. So that is a huge contribution on its own, and that must be appreciated, celebrated, and acknowledged. Otherwise, you might think, oh, I'm the only one bringing the pounds in, and because of that, the other person is not doing anything. If they leave what they do for you, you will come back home, you will feel like, where are you? Because again, the children can mess up the house before you return. The house is tidy, the children are taken care of. There are people that they leave their children with their spouse in the morning, they come back at night after working 12 hours, they will be the one to bathe the children because the spouse doesn't even care, they don't even do anything. Again, if you're in that position and you think there are certain things you can do to support your spouse, why not? It's part of the package as a couple to support one another. The other one, again, like I've mentioned, is to ask God for wisdom and guidance in your financial decision making as a couple. Prayer is very important. And the last one that we mentioned here is that seek we must seek help. You must seek knowledge, you must seek help. For some of us, you might need to talk to a financial advisor, you might need to talk to a money coach, you might even need to talk to a friend who is doing better with money. How do you approach this thing? What do you do? How can I do this thing differently? For some of us, you might even need to attend a course. Some of us, you might need to acquire knowledge by reading books. Very important, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know until you come across it. Sometimes you think you are doing the things in the best possible way, but there are better ways. And you know that the best is always the enemy of the better. So there is always room for improvement. But if you don't have that mindset to seek help, to ask questions, then you will not get better at the things that you do. Okay, so again, those are some of the things you can do going forward to be able to avoid and deal with financial chaos in your marriage. Okay, so again, going back to the chat, I can say one or two questions or contribution. Thank you so much for that. If you have a question, please let us know. Just tag it as questions so that we know what a question is. Okay, so we'll take the question very shortly. But in the meantime, if you are here and you are still with us, could you please in the chat just drop um, one step you can take today to improve financial trust in your relationship? What is that one thing that you think you can do today to improve financial trust in your relationship? So you can do that in the chat, put that in the chat very quickly. What is that one step, one thing, that you can do? Okay, someone's talking about acquiring knowledge via audio books and video. Very, very good. That's one thing you can do. Again, attending webinars like these and sharing informations, okay, like short reels and videos. Very good. We have videos on our YouTube channel that you can learn, share with your spouse, which is very good. Okay. Is there any other thing that anyone thinks they can do to help you improve financial trust? Maybe the trust has been broken, maybe it's been broken now. What can you do differently? Think about it and put that in the chat. And if you have any question, please do well to put that in the chat. We'll take the questions that we have uh, today. Let's just have a look. Again, if you have any question you are typing, do well to post that as quickly as possible in the interest of time. Okay, I think there's a question on the platform coming. In what way? Okay, this question is saying, in what way can one encourage a spouse to have financial literate uh, conversation without appearing offensive? Okay, in what way can you encourage your spouse to have financial literacy conversation without appearing offensive? I think this is very interesting question, and it's a lot of something that is holding a lot of us back. You are financially keen, your spouse is just taking it as it comes. What how can you approach this? And I think one of the things you can really do is to start the conversation in where you get your information from. So for example, if you are driving in the car and you are both in yourself and your spouse, you are in the car, you can decide that, okay, let's not listen to music, let's just listen to this podcast. let's just listen to this audio book together. And while you are listening to it, both of you are just listening. You are not even talking about it. Just keep listening, just keep listening, just keep acquiring the knowledge. And before you know it, one day they will just ask you one question about it. And that question can be the beginning of that engagement. So, again, without you being forceful, without you being saying you must watch this video, you must listen to this podcast, just keep doing your own thing, but do it in their presence as well. There are times that the husband reads book and doesn't the wife is not even aware that the husband is reading any book, or the husband is listening to podcast, the wife is not aware. So could you do these things together such that you are acquiring the knowledge in their presence, and that knowledge is filtering into their ear one way or the other. And again, attending webinars like this in the family, again, you are listening to it not on earpiece, so they are listening at the same time, even though they are doing something else. But some of the things we are saying is filtering to them, and all of a sudden, one day they just start conversation. Or you can even decide what are they keen about, what are they interested about. You can decide to buy it for them and put a note in there and just say maybe you buy them a gift and you say, "Oh, I love you so much, and I've bought you this gift just as a token of my appreciation to you. And again, I've learned this principle by attending this webinar. We might Would you like to attend with me next time?" Again, those are some of the ways you can romantically embed that request into it. And I think the other thing that you can do is building, having family friends that you are all going in the same direction. You get your mindset, your value system aligns such that when you visit one another, when you talk about these things, they begins to, okay, oh wow, these things can be done differently. In that conversation, they can begin to acquire that knowledge. So again, you have to do it subtly, otherwise you can lose them even before the journey starts. And when you see that they begin to have interest, some of them can have interest in reading, buy them books. Some of them can have interest in watching videos. Take your time to find the video, create a playlist and share it with them. Or even some prefer podcasts or audio books. Find out what they prefer as a medium of learning and then share that medium with them. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, so you can actually, play games together about financial literacy, like Monopoly as an example. There are so many games that can actually, build that knowledge. Again, in play, and learn, you can actually achieve this thing without appearing arrogant and, and abusive in that conversation. Thank you very much. Okay, so back to my previous question around what you can do today. There's a response there. Okay, someone is saying practicing all discussed in this session. Thank you very much for that, and that's very important. All right, so I think we are okay, so transparency again, very crucial. Don't hide transactions, don't hide purchases. Some people hide purchases in bin bag, and the other person just take the purchase and put them in the bin. So you can't get the purchase, you can't ask about green the bin bag because you don't want them to know what is inside. Again, all those things lead to a lot of chaos down the line. So we must be very interested or motivated to live in harmony, in transparency with one another. And I just want to say, a very big thank you to everyone for joining us today. And the next webinar will be next month, and I believe one of the things we want to be look at is the area of question and answer. Again, I've talked a lot about what you can do, but could we come together with questions such that these questions can then be answered both from my perspective, and we will be having a guest to also bring us another perspective as well. So we can again for next month, please join us where we will be looking at questions on this same topic, how to avoid and deal with financial chaos in marriage. But we will be looking at a kind of Q&A session with on that one. All right. So again, just to say very quickly, again, if you would like to support us, want to encourage you to please. And so again, most of the things that we do, they are 100% they are free for you and free for the learner. But of course, you also know that this requires a lot of effort. For example, hosting the website. And if you want to, you can support us. Just go to the URL that was shown on the screen and just go there and support us with as little as £5 if you want. Again, there's no compulsion for this, but again, just an acknowledgement of the things and that we do here. Another way you can support us is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of at the moment I can see from this analytics that maybe more than 60% of those who watch our video are not subscribers. So which is very strange. But I want to encourage you to please subscribe and let's get that number up to at least 100 today, and also follow us on Facebook. We want to stream on Facebook, but we can't until we hit that 100. So I follow us on Facebook for us to be able to achieve that goal. There are people on Facebook that can benefit from lessons and discussions like this. And also, we offer one-to-one coaching session. So, for example, I've mentioned a lot of things, and you think, "Oh, this is my own peculiar situation. How can I approach it?" Again, it's not money advice, but again, we can talk together, share some advice or some guidance practically on your own specific needs. Okay, and also coming very soon is what we call a 4 weeks masterclass. And this 4 weeks masterclass will be with myself, and we'll be looking at principles and strategies for financial success. And we will be looking at uh, stewardship, budgeting, debt management, improving your credit rating, financial goal setting, and even money coach. So perhaps everything that we've said so far has been more broad. We can go deeper in these master classes, one to one, just talking about deeper concept. Again, this will be launching towards the end of this year. Again, we want to gauge interest. So if we have more people interested in a 4 weeks kind of masterclass or coaching where we can have one-to-one, with yourself, your spouse, helping you to set your goals, achieve your goal, manage your debt. Again, there will be a lot of transparency in this one. You have to come with your bank statement. You have to come with your debt, your if you have a credit report, you have to come with it so that we can actually help you look at these things and coach you on how to achieve your goals. For some people, they want to buy a house in the next 1 year. Where are you now? What can you do to get to that next point? That is what this masterclass and coaching is for. Again, you can go on the URL shown on the screen. You go on that URL, register your interest in advance, and we'll let you know when it will be and also how much it will cost. Again, there is a cost implication for that. But if you think that that cost is going to be modest, again, the essence of it is to make sure that there is value. Again, most times, if whatever you don't know pay a premium for, most times you don't appreciate it. So for many of the people that will be joining, there will be a premium to be paid, but at the same time, we are looking at the possibility of having a kind of rebate. Maybe if you attend all the sessions, maybe 8 sessions, you will get 50% or 75% of your payment back, or even 25%. Again, the decision will be made based on the interest. Again, that's part of the things we want to do. It's a premium, but again, it's a price worth paying. So think about this. If this is of interest to you, go to the URL shown on the screen, bit.ly ES Masterclass 24, and then register your interest. Again, only those who register their interest will be contacted with the information for that. Okay, thank you. And I think that is it for tonight. I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone who stayed up until now. Again, the videos will be available on YouTube for you to refresh yourself. And I hope you found it helpful. Feel free to share with your spouse, share with your friends, share with your family. Maybe those that are working that are not able to join, share it with them, and let's go together so that we can go further. And the more we become better stewards of our resources, the more we can do for the kingdom. And I just want to say that as you put these things into practice, it is my prayer that God will bless you and God will help you to become better stewards, and your family, your home will live in peace. There will be harmony, there will be joy in your family, and there will be happiness in your family, such that your children will be glad that they are born into that home in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you all and thank you for coming.